Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Todd Clint's SharePoint podcast, number 338, recorded live Monday, May 15th, 2017, Common Era. I, of course, am your host, Todd Clint, and joining me again this week, because no one else will join me, Shane. Tell them all about yourself, Shane.
I don't know if I'm allowed to, because apparently every time I move right now, according to the chat room, it's a little laggy, a little crazy, so what do you do? But I am Shane Young, the illustrious pixelated picture on your screen if you watch the video.
Yeah. So we've been troubleshooting for the last few minutes. Apparently my several-year-old computer has just gotten disgusted with rendering Shane's video for the podcast. My video is great. His is kind of pixelated. He's been described as looking like claymation. Daniel Glenn said he's making me motion sick, and he was surprised that Shane could find another way to make him sick, but apparently it did. So yeah, hopefully next week we've got an idea on how to fix this for next week. So 339, gonna be aces, gonna be good stuff.
Yeah, well, and we've proven, my wonderful YouTube videos show that I can be found on the internet in beautiful frame-by-frame videos. So it is available.
Well, and how many people can attest to this, Shane?
Oh, is that something you want to hear about, Todd? Is it like
it was going to come up? I'm going to own it. It's going to come up anyway, so I'm just going to own it.
No. Now you're close. You're on the right track with the things I wanted to share with you. As a long-time viewers of the show, you know that sometimes I like to share surprises with Todd live, so he gets to react to them just the same way you do.
And if anybody knows me, they know I love surprises and being caught unaware. One of my favorite things.
Yes. So, for the longest time, we loved that my YouTube success has provided $3 whole every single day from all my work.
That's enough to feed an orphan.
I'm here to tell you, Todd, that we've made it to 4. I am racking up $4 a day for my YouTube views. So you guys keep downloading those. You keep clicking the links and the ads, and Shane will be like, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, good Lord.
Wasn't that worth the setup?
And folks, you can't imagine how proud Shane is of himself right now. Not because of his YouTube fame. No. For remembering to bring $4 with him.
For being able to find $4. I don't work a lot these days, so $4 is a scratch.
Good luck. Well, congratulations.
That's right. That forum was so good. It jumped up so fast. I'm not going to brag, but we might see $5 really, really soon. So just be ready for it.
Yeah, and like Dave's saying in the chat room, once you get over 5, I can't count that high anymore. So all the numbers over 5 are just they're all the same to me.
But the good news is I'll just use a $5 bill, and so then we'll just have more. I'll try and keep it in the five sets for you.
I appreciate that. Speaking of the 5s and 1s, if you guys didn't watch Saturday Night Live this week, they had one of their spoof commercials for the Amazon Echo Silver, and it was an Amazon Echo for old people. And so it would do things like it would answer to anybody's name. So instead of saying Alexa, you could say Angela or Alexandra or Angel. And then there was one piece where a guy was telling Alexa a story, and it's got this mode where if the person talks a lot, it just randomly says So he's telling this story about how a guy yelled at him because the guy said he only gave him a 1, but he gave him a 5, and he knows that because he had a 1 and a 5 in his pocket, and he's got this 1 left. Of course it was a 5, and go look for that. Amazon Echo Silver. Fun stuff.
Sounds awesome. Hopefully they made a reference to the clicker, right? Amazon, where's my clicker?
Yes. So it was, I think it was my phone or something, but yes, absolutely. Somebody walked into the room, Amazon. And then it was, Audrey, where's my phone? Yeah.
Too good.
For contact information, I'm still Todd Clint. You can hit me up on Twitter at Todd Clint. He's at Shane's Cows. I'm ToddClint.com. He's BoldZebras.com, which I'm pointing to right there. I'm sticking my finger in the zebra's ear.
That's family-friendly show. Stop.
Yeah. So you can hit us up. We're pretty friendly guys. We love to chat. love to chat online with you. For production notes, we're all caught up with production. I think I got everything out last week. We are working on a user survey to find out what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. So mentally and physically prepare yourselves for that. Start thinking about all the great things that I've done that you want to talk about, all the terrible things that Shane has done that you want to talk about. Get your clicking finger, your dragging finger, get it ready, do some exercises. We hope to have that done by next week.
Yep. Biggest question that's going to be on this, be a challenge, is what should we name the show, right? The Todd Clint SharePoint Netcast name is kind of set sail, so figure out a name. We're looking for suggestions. That'll be one of the biggest helps you can provide as you do the survey.
Yep. So Jeff Hicks is already hydrating himself for next week. Daniel Glenn apparently has a long list of grievances, so he'll be able to air all of those. So that's that's all. So get ready for that. We were hoping to have it done today, but we kind of got busy with other stuff. Busy week. So anyway, let's jump onto the topics. I see you threw something in on A. Quick, do you want to chat about that? What's that all about?
Well, we're always complaining about the microwave, right? We know that our friends the Russians are up there. Your microwave got fixed, so that was a big thumbs up.
Yep.
But so last week I was sitting here, doing a little work, mostly playing games, and listening to Pandora, and a song 100% in Russian came on my Pandora, and I'm like, man, did the microwave leave its connection up again? Right, Pandora, from watching my behaviors and watching my network traffic, has now decided there's so much Russian activity, we need Russian music. So I thought that was a little sketchy. I think I might be pushing the line a little too far now.
Yeah, so speaking of that, we've talked about this before, but I had an instance of this happen just like an hour ago. There is a house down the street that has a robotic lawnmower. So like you'll drive by and it's like a lawnmower, it's an electrical lawnmower, doesn't have a handle, just mows this guy's yard. I've coveted that thing for months now. I went for a run on Sunday and I ran past the house and I was close enough that I could see what brand it was. And so I'm like, all right, keep in mind I didn't have my phone with me. I didn't do anything like that at all. I get home, didn't mention it to anybody, didn't say anything, didn't say, hey, Jill, I've got great news. I know what, none of that. I open up Facebook this morning and there's an ad for that freaking lawnmower in Facebook. Didn't have my phone with me, didn't speak it out loud, haven't done a search for it. It's burrowed into my damn brain.
I'm telling you, we're going to start wearing aluminum hats in this show. We have just become, we should be on Slashdot or something like that. We'd be big with those guys.
Yeah. So for everybody else, and so that Facebook can get it. It was a Husqvarna the thing. I forget. It's like $2,400, something like that. I am not buying one.
Wow.
But, yeah, but just like I can explain most of it. I'm like, oh yeah, if you leave the app open, it can look at your microphone, or oh yeah, it's getting the beacon pixels when you do the thing. I have not touched this thing. I completely forgot. I ran home, forgot about it completely, never spoke of it, nothing. And this morning it was waiting for me.
See, I just like to think of that as some genius marketer has nailed down their target demographic. They're like 40, computer nerd, likes tech, does this and that, and goes for runs on Saturday afternoons. They've just nailed you down so well that you just fit the persona so perfect.
I do. I am the guy. Yeah, it was... and the thing is, so I've got a neighbor kid that mows my lawn, and that serves two purposes. Number one, it makes it so I don't have to mow my lawn, and number two, I figure it reduces the chances that him and his dumb little friends are going to like egg my house or TP my house by at least 30%, because I'll quit paying him if he does that. And I think, I'll just is
that in the contract with this kid?
That will sever that business relationship quick, fast, and in a hurry. So that's just some good insurance. But I can pay for a lot of lawn mowing with $2,400.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, right? Because we've had somebody cut our grass for a long time, and wow, we're way off topic now. But I did the math to buy my own riding lawnmower and buy all the pieces, and I mean, it was like years of having someone paid to cut my grass just to get the math to add up. I'm like, there's no way. This is an installment plan. No, we're just gonna pay this guy to do it.
Yeah, and the kid does a great job. So I can't even. Yeah, but. Okay, so the Russian song. So we'll hit some tech stuff first. We got some tech things, and then we've got some other stuff. Bunch of new things. So Build was last week, and while Build is a developer conference, there was a ton of great things that were announced that were non-developer things. And we don't have time to talk about all of them. We should have done a special show for build. But there were a couple of things that came out over the last couple of weeks that do impact IT pros and admins directly. And I thought I would bring those up just kind of so people remember it and all that. One of them is, actually, I blogged this one. I should post my blog post instead. There was two new pieces of functionality that they added to OneDrive, and OneDrive is SharePoint Online and all that. One of them is they've increased the MAXPATH, so the maximum URL length, from 256 characters to 400 characters.
Nice.
And so, yeah, that's good. So this is one of those weird deals where they say OneDrive, this, that, and the other, but then you never know what the hell OneDrive is and which OneDrive it is and all that. And so this is very specifically OneDrive with Office 365, not on-prem. So on-prem has different URL limitations. There are limitations. It's not this. But what this URL limitation helps out with is something that Shane and I just did battle with a couple of weeks ago, and that's governance. And so we've... on-prem, we've got these great governance plans where we create some web apps, and we create managed paths, and we do all these things to make sure that data goes in obvious buckets, but we can't do any of that online. And so one of our customers that we talked to has started putting the governance bits in the site collection name because they can't put it anywhere else. They can't do anything else with it. But then as soon as you start doing that, then your URLs start creeping out. And so this is kind of one way to address that. You get another 144 characters to pad whatever with. So that was an interesting one. Another thing that they added, and this was a couple of months ago maybe, they added support again online for the hash sign and the % sign in. Yes, hash. I promised myself I would never do that. That and the chicken dance, I would never do either one of those. So now you can have the hash sign or the % sign in file names or folder names in SharePoint Online. And they will render in the web fine. They will sync down to OneDrive as long as you have the next-gen client and all of that. So those are two things that were kind of cool.
Well, those are nice little changes. And, I was trying to read up about them before the show, and turns out that blogs.microsoft.com was down, so I could not do any pre-show studying, so instead I played more video games. But
yeah, well, you can. Good.
I was gonna say, I think the character path stuff, right? I'm guessing they're going to open the doors. We're probably going to see some new functionality that requires it. That's when they finally made the change, and we'll be like, oh, look, that new feature that ships in 2 weeks was waiting on this feature to ship. So
I think, so a couple of notes. My blog post is at toddclint.com/OneDrive superpowers. And I think the way I looked at this and kind of the way I explained it in the blog post is I think of it's less of a forward-looking thing and more of a backward-looking thing, because OneDrive wants to be one of the big dogs. It wants to be a Dropbox. It wants to be a box. It wants to be a whatever. And as soon as you say that to a customer, they start giggling and they're like, you can't even sync files with hashtags and with hash symbols in them. You're like, oh, all right. And so I think it's more trying to get caught up to what people expect and less about setting themselves up for something new. That's my guess.
Well, I definitely agree with that with the hashtags and stuff like that. But the jump in the limit out there, I just felt like that was an opener to something, gotcha. Size matters type of thing.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, so those are out there. Those are kind of cool. And as Shane has noticed, I have been spending a lot of time talking about OneDrive. It's some cool stuff out there. And so I saw these. Thought I would mention those. The other big one that they announced at Build last week, and this was a big one. This is maybe the biggest OneDrive announcement they've had in a year or more, is OneDrive is reintroducing the Files on Demand functionality. And this is huge. So for those of us who suffered through Windows 8, there's a support group that meets down at the bar every night. But one good thing that Windows 8 had was this idea of placeholders in OneDrive. So we hit this weird spot around the time that Windows 8 came out where cloud storage was getting bigger, like terabyte of cloud storage, but at the same time, the drives that we had in machines were getting smaller because we're moving over from spinning disks, which were big, to SSDs and MMCs that were little. And so we had this weird deal where our cloud storage leapfrogged our online or our on-prem storage, and so we couldn't sync everything anymore. And so there's a couple of ways to fix that. One of them is selective sync. Everybody does that. Dropbox, OneDrive does that now. But the way that Windows 8 tried to tackle it was it would put these placeholders. And so every file that you had in OneDrive would show up, but it wouldn't actually get downloaded until you tried to use it. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Except it wasn't. Except the implementation was not that good. For instance, it was mostly just an Explorer shell extension. So if you went out to PowerShell or to some other program that didn't use the same file open APIs that the Explorer did, it couldn't see these files, it couldn't understand what to do with them. People would have this issue where they would think they had a file locally and they would go offline and it wouldn't be there and they wouldn't be able to download it. And so they took that functionality out of OneDrive for Windows 10. And people have been clamoring for it ever since. So at Ignite last year, they said that it was coming back, and at Build, they actually finally showed it. And it is, it's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing. And so it does exactly what, you expect it to do. All of your files show up, but they fixed a bunch of stuff. Now it's actually built into the operating system. It's built into the client, but it sits at a lower level, so it's not just a File Explorer hack. So you can do stuff with the command line. All those files are indexed, and your OneDrive client populates the index on your local machine. So even if a file is not local, if you do a local search, it will still show up in your search results. And then if you click it, then it will download in the background, things like that. Pretty cool stuff.
It's been amazing how much they've invested in OneDrive, right? They really want to be a big boy in this space. And they're doing all the right things, and the fact that it's just built in. We'll have an antitrust lawsuit at some point about it, but the fact that it's just part of Windows makes it pretty cool.
Part of the client, I think that's how they get out. So Blake in the chat room is asking if it's live now. It is not live the way that I understand it, and I could be wrong on this, and there's a million blog posts out there on the internet from Build. Right now, it does come down through the OS because there are some OS hooks that client needs, but your Windows 10 box has to be on the fast ring or whatever, the preview ring. And then I think when the next preview comes out, it will be part of that. But I'm with you. So I remember, and I don't think you were there, but at the MVP Summit a couple of years ago, there was a couple of people from the OneDrive team there. And man, I used to feel bad for the Yammer folks when they would show up. But the OneDrive folks, and just a complete coincidence, that was the same time that OneDrive backed down from there. Remember how we told you have unlimited storage? You don't have unlimited storage anymore. We're taking that all away. That was the day that guy was talking to us. Like, they made that announcement that morning, and then he was talking to us that afternoon. And felt bad for him. But one of the things that he, so we talked about that, but one of the things that he said was, we're making a huge investment in OneDrive. All of the things that you guys are complaining about right now, all valid. Every single one of those things is terrible. Every single one of those things needs to be fixed. And he's like, and we're going to do it. And we're all like, get out. We didn't even stop throwing things at him. We just, we just kept on going. But to their credit, they've absolutely done it. They have been hammering it. So yeah, they really want to be a big kid.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, right? I use OneDrive for just about everything. I know we have that one Dropbox folder we share that I try to stay out of with all my heart. But the OneDrive experience, because of the client, it just enables so many scenarios, especially jumping between devices. Now I just open Word, and Word's like, hey, here's a document you were working on back on your home PC because it's in the cloud, and I sunk the links to your recently opened files with OneDrive, so then you have access to that. It's just really cool stuff that just makes my life easier without me ever even having to think about it.
Yeah, and they and this is complete speculation on my part, but they also announced something at Build, some shared clipboard thing, some internet clipboard, and I think it uses OneDrive in the background too. So like this idea that you can copy something on one computer and it shows up in your clipboard on another computer.
Yeah, I definitely be very helpful. Yeah, so OneDrive. And I also thought it was interesting with this crazy virus that's running around, right? The latest ransomware. They're like, hey, if you were using OneDrive, because we have file versioning, if they encrypt all your OneDrive files, you can call us up and we'll just roll it back a version. You'll be right back to unencrypted. No ransomware payments required.
Yeah, so that's later down the list, but let's go ahead and talk about that now because
sorry, I didn't see it down there. Oops.
That's well, it's kind of so. Yeah, so unless you've been living under a rock the last 4 days, you've heard about this ransomware thing. WannaCrypt or WannaCry, I've heard it called both. Nothing spectacular about the payload. It's ransomware. Ransomware's been around for a couple of years. And this is the idea that you get a malicious process on your machine. It goes through and encrypts all of your files. gives you a nastygram on your screen that says, for some random amount of money, this one is $300 in Bitcoin, we will decrypt your files, or else in 10 days we're going to delete them all. Pretty standard stuff. Standard enough that it showed up on TV shows. My wife and I watch NCIS, and there was an NCIS episode about this a couple of months ago. And as a tech guy, I love watching tech on TV shows and talking about how sensationalist it is and how it's ridiculous. And they go through this whole thing, and my wife looks at me like, all right, let me hear it. And I'm like, now that's pretty much it. Like it really is that terrible. They got it. I can't, yes. So this WannaCrypt is that, but with a twist. A couple of months ago, or however long ago, WikiLeaks leaked all the NSA documents. Yep. And one of the things in those documents were a bunch of exploits that the NSA was using to spy on people. And there were some Windows exploits in there. And so this WannaCrypt takes things a step further. So if I click a link on a web page or an email and I get encrypted, that's been done before. My stuff's locked up. But what WannaCrypt does is it uses that exploit and hits every machine in my network. So once it sneaks in, then it just spreads like wildfire. And so it took down what London's National Health Britain's National Health folks. They got hit real hard with it. Legitimately people dying because all health records and everything were all locked up. This thing crawls network shares. It crawls all kinds of stuff. It's pretty bad. With that thing, I think Windows 10 was immune. I think so. It uses SMB version 1, the SMB v1 protocol to sneak in. I think Windows 10 is immune, and Microsoft, I suspect, got wind that this was coming because they patched this in March. This is something that had been hanging out there since the XP days, and they patched it in March. So if you were all patched up, good to go. Not going to get hit. If you were not patched up, bad days coming. So another great story for keeping your stuff patched.
Yeah, we know it'll be also interesting to see, right? You pointed out that one of the biggest, hardest hit portions over in the UK was the healthcare industry. And, is this going to be that inflection point where all the progress they've been making around electronic health records and all that, someone's going to say, but this one thing, and is it going to kind of set us backwards on that schedule of, to the cloud with internet health?
So I will tell you, I've got some dichotomy with this. I'm a tech guy. I love the hell out of tech. I love the hell out of tech for tech's sake. I will do techie things that are inefficient and all that. But as a tech guy, I also see the risk of things. And our local hospital, they built a clinic down the street from me here a few years ago. No record center. There's no place to store physical records. It's all in the computers. And I remember the time thinking, I don't think that's such a good idea for a number of reasons. For this reason, for hacking reasons and getting information, things like that. But I think it's so convenient and adds so much functionality that they will not give it up. I don't think this will do it.
Unfortunately, I don't think they should, right? I think it does. It allows a lot more. I know, like one of my friends I play golf with is a radiologist, right? And so instead of having to be there in the hospital at 4 a.m. to go read an x-ray, he wakes up, rubs the sleepy out of his eyes, goes in, turns his computer on, and there's the same full fidelity x-ray just like he had in his hands, but it's on a computer screen, and he gets in, joot, okay, this is the thing, and he goes back to sleep. It's just making his life more convenient, but in theory, that should be reducing healthcare costs because now we don't have, the on-call time for him and blah, blah, blah. It's the right way to go, but I know things like this can sometimes be that scare tactic to be like, no, we can't change.
Yeah. I think hopefully instead of it being that, it will be making people more aware of patching, backups, things like that.
Yeah, well, I think, and that was going to be part of my advice of all this, right? Was, those of you that still haven't gotten your mom something for Mother's Day, this guy, go patch her PC, right? There's the service you provide her. She won't really care, but if you're not helping your family, we're a bunch of nerds. We know how to run Windows updates. Just next time you're at mom's house, stop by and look up there, or walk upstairs, from the basement where you live, and check it out real quick, and just make sure her PC is in good a shape as yours is.
Yeah, and in Windows 10, Microsoft has made it super duper impossible to not patch. Like, you really have to know what you're doing to keep that thing from patching.
Yep. Just the way it should be, right? I don't think there's anything bad about that.
Yeah. So one of the fun stories I love, we talk about security on here all the time. I've got 2 security things on here, but what I kind of love about this story is there was some malware hacker guy in the UK, some 22-year-old kid, last week finds out about this malware, gets a machine, intentionally gets it infected, decompiles the malware code to kind of see what's going on. And he sees a reference to this piece of malware going out and looking for a very random, very specific domain. And he's like, I wonder what's out there. And he tries to go out there and there's nothing there. He's like, So he's trying to figure out like where this is at, trying to figure out, see if he can get some information. Finds out the domain is not registered. So he's like, they must have forgot. So he registers the domain thinking that he's going to start seeing all these machines that are infected reporting back to him and try to figure things out, maybe somehow let people know. What he didn't realize was the malware had a dead man switch in it. And the dead man switch was if this domain got registered, it shut down. And so just by going out and registering this domain, he killed it. He killed that variant of it. So like Thursday and Friday, the world was on fire. We were all going to lose all of our files, shut everything with an on-off switch down. It's Armageddon. They're like, oh, never mind. It's all good. That kid got it. We're safe. It's all over.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to him, right? Just morbid curiosity. I mean, I guess it's his job, though. He is in the security field, so he does do some of it for a living. But just kind of went and poked the bear, and he fixed the bear while he was poking it. So
yeah, I mean, completely stumbled across it. Just didn't even think that that was what was going on. But so that's cool. But the bad news, and apparently I've been watching Twitter today. So then all the malware guys have to do is just go in and find that line of code that says mixelplick.com registered exit, and just comment that thing out and recompile, and off it goes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the other thing I found was super annoying about that, right? So the kid found the thing, right? And he's like, hey, here's my online name. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to do interviews. I don't want to be known. And what did the popo head reporters go and do? They go and dig and claw and find. And today there's his face. Like, here he is. I'm like, the guy just saved, us millions of dollars and this and that. Why don't we just leave him alone? Would that be too much to ask?
Yeah, and with all the headlines and the bad press that doxing has gotten over the last couple of years, to find out the journalists are doing it. Yeah, this kid did a very good thing, and potentially angered some very powerful people. And yeah, the journal's like, oh, this is him. This is right over here. This is the guy. This is the guy you're looking for.
Yeah, because, and so speaking of angering those people and seeing what happens, so part of all of this, Microsoft, right, Brad Smith, President and Chief Legal Officer, he did a blog post that said, hey, this is ridiculous. He called out the NSA by name and said, you guys are popo heads. Popo head, that's the word of the day. Doing this. And next thing you know, the blog platform where he posted that is completely offline. Coincidence?
Absolutely. There's no way those two are connected. That makes no sense. I can't even believe you said that out loud.
Yeah. The smart TV didn't just say, oh, here's how we disable that thing real quick, right? That's the NSA. This is a smart TV. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to mess with those people. You don't want to be like, hey, Anonymous, I think you're a bunch of buttheads, and see what happens. So.
Yeah, and I think so. There've been a lot of people who've been blaming Microsoft and blaming the NSA and all that. I'm really not on board with that. I think the blame lies on, obviously, the malicious folks who are doing bad things. I mean, just because somebody's door is not locked doesn't mean it's okay for you to walk in. But then the people who aren't patching their stuff. I mean, I just can't feel horribly sorry for somebody to run an XP. And that was another interesting thing. So Microsoft quit patching XP a couple of years ago. They patched this for XP. They brought those XP developers out of retirement and patch this, patch it now.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, we're holding Microsoft responsible for the Windows 3.1.1 codes that's still running out there. I mean, at some point, you have to move on your operating system. And this is where, we all hate the Apple model, but it's genius of them, right? They force you to upgrade. They force you to move up the pipes. They never have to put up with this stuff. But then no one can really build anything on it because nothing's ever forever with those guys. So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah. So that was a fun security story. Another fun security story that I read last week was France had an election. And as we're in the midst of all of this in the U.S., there were concerns that foreign entities, we'll just call them the Russians, would interfere with the French election, much like it's alleged that they did with the U.S. election. And France has a couple of different laws than us. One of them is they have a media blackout 48 hours before the election. Not the worst idea I've ever heard, by the way. But anyway, so they had a similar thing. A WikiLeaks type thing was dumped about one of their folks. And for the most part, doesn't look like it impacted their election any, which is good. But I was reading later on that another reason why none of that impacted their election was because the guy that won, Macron, apparently his campaign expected this to happen. They expected bad guys to come in and expected to get hacked. And so they set up honeypots. So they created a bunch of fake people and a bunch of fake email accounts and a bunch of fake documents and just put so much chaff out there that the bad guys, when they got in, and they did get in, could not separate the wheat from the chaff and didn't know what to publish, didn't know what to drop because they couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't real. And one of the stories that I read about this said that the French, the people that set this honeypot up, were just getting documents from everywhere, from every walk of life, and then going through and doing things like doing find or replace from Mr. Smith to Captain Smith, so it would look like a military thing. I mean, and I'm like, that is freaking brilliant. Well played. Well played.
And honeypots, maybe it's just I'm not in that part of the security anymore, but I mean, back in like 2000, 2001, somewhere in there, right, we started really playing with those and kind of setting those things up, and I haven't heard that word in 10 years. So interesting that they, is that kicking it old school at this point, or it's just become so mainstream that they just don't talk about it anymore? I don't know what that is.
Retro. Yeah, I don't do much in the security or penetration space either, so I'm not sure. But yeah, I was with you. I'm like, yeah, I haven't heard about honeypots in a while. That's good stuff. But I'm like, that is that's some next level campaigning right there. Like, all right, and it's that whole thing. Security folks always tell you that your security posture should assume that you've been breached.
Because you have.
People are like, well, I don't need to use HTTPS inside my network because, everything's, no, assume breach. And so these guys are like, all right, we will assume breach. And it's like all those accounts that Microsoft has, Dan Jump and all those. It's like all those folks got together at Contoso, put a bunch of documents in the, good stuff. So in the chat room, Mark Chrisman and Dave Ackroyd are talking about this. I follow Swift on Security on Twitter, and also Troy Hunt. He's a fellow MVP. Both are a couple of good security folks to follow on Twitter and blogs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I follow Swift on Security. I just don't. My Twitter feed's so intense. I can't keep up with all of it. So
yeah.
But honeypots, that's fun, right? And now, Todd, I'm imagining our next startup. Let's just do honeypots as a service. It's a buzzword. It says as a service. We can make our first $10 million before we can write a line of code, just because we went to market with honeypots as a service. We'll get Winnie the Pooh to sponsor us.
There we go. HPAS, it rolls right off the tongue.
There you go, folks. You heard it first. If you steal our idea, well, good for you.
Yeah, you probably do a better job than us. So that was good. I like to see the good guys win once in a while, and I think that was one of them. So speaking of patching, we talked a lot about patching. Today, Microsoft released a updated, I can't get to it. Hopefully I have that on another screen. I don't, because blogs.technet.microsoft is down.
Unrelated.
Yeah, unrelated to Microsoft poking the NSA. They released a product service policy for SharePoint 2016, which is basically just what versions of 2016 they're going to support. In the past, Microsoft has said we will support, our support things will kind of line up with the service packs. So SharePoint Service Pack 1, SharePoint RTM, SharePoint 2013 Service Pack 1. But then Microsoft went and said a long time ago they're not going to do service packs for 2016, which makes it tougher to peg your support on service packs. And so I don't have the article in front of me now because I can't bring it up. But essentially what they said was they will support every patch level for at least a year past the date that it was announced. And then at the anniversary date, they will reevaluate and then post something. So that's apparently that's the NSA calling me now.
Yeah, only a year on a patch, though. That seems like right. I mean, it seems like a long time, but a very short time in the same kind of stroke there. So interesting.
Yeah. I think they really are serious about this whole patching thing with OSs and products and all that. And I think this is one of the ways they're going to force our hand. On the other hand, the patches for SharePoint 2016 have not been nearly as destructive as their 2010 and 2013 brethren. So,
yes, that has been a nice turn of events. No, they're no longer, hey, when I install this patch, how long before they have to update the patch?
Yeah, it hasn't been nearly as much of that. And then just another thing, I was working with a customer today, and they needed to know from a security thing, what ports needed to be open between which SharePoint boxes. And so I had to send them to the plan for security hardening for SharePoint blog post. So I put that out there. That's on technet.microsoft.com. So that might actually come up, but it just talks about, the ports the service apps use, things like that. So
yeah, I remember that document back in 2003 days when it was actually, a little short little list. We're like, oh, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, and
that's not the case.
No. In the show notes, I've got the one for 2016. But if you go to the top, they've got a version selector, so you can pick 2013, 2010, things like that. So, all right. So you got a thing about the Tesla solar roof? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. If you guys remember, a few months back, Elon came on, did his little song and dance, and said, "Hey, we've got these new roof tiles we're going to release. They're going to cost just as much as normal roof tiles, but they're going to provide solar energy at the same time." There was universal rejoicing, right? Yeah, who doesn't want to buy a better roof? Well, I can tell you that last week they kind of went the next stage. They said, all right, we're ready to go. And they put out a pricing calculator where you can go out, you can plug in your address, and I guess it does some stuff with the Google Solar project to kind of figure out how much sunlight you get. And so then it also looks at your roof size and kind of calculates how much roofing you need. And it comes back and says, all right, if you buy this amount of roofing from us over 30 years, here's how much money you'll make back. I was really excited. I was like, man, I'm going to get me a Tesla roof. Can't afford a Tesla car. I'm going to get me a Tesla roof. I can tell you that I also cannot afford a Tesla roof because it turns out that whole idea that it would be cheaper, they really meant it'll be cheaper over the span of 30 years, not in the short run. So,
yeah,
a little ugly.
Yeah, and I think when Elon said all that, I think we all knew that was going to be the case. He was kind of cagey about it, but there's just no other way that it was going to work out. A couple of interesting things about that. You and I living in the Midwest, we get hail and all that kind of stuff and cold weather. They did a lot to show how tough these solar cells were.
They did?
The shingles. So that's good. The other thing that they did is I thought they were pretty responsible with how they planned out this money. So they didn't say, okay, you're going to buy a solar cell and it can put out X amount of power and it's going to do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're going to make big bucks. They're like, no, like you said, they're going to the Google thing. They're figuring out how much sunlight you get, and then they're knocking off like 30% or something like that because of, aging. And the numbers they came up with seemed more reasonable than I expected them to.
Yeah, and I guess it's also interesting, depending on where you live, you can do anywhere from, I think, 50 to 70% of your roof with solar tiles versus a regular, which are supposedly from street level look exactly the same.
Yeah.
But I plugged in my house, and it was $150,000 to do my roof. I just decided that might be a few years before I can justify putting a $150,000 roof up there. So.
And is that more than a regular roof would cost?
Yeah, I had my roof redone about 3 years ago, and it cost like $16,000 to do my roof. So, just 10x. But
yeah.
it did tell me that after 30 years of having that and all the pieces, and you didn't mention, but the tiles have a lifetime warranty.
Yes.
An infinity warranty, right? I think that was what they decided to go with.
Yeah. Infinity for wear, but not infinity for producing power, I believe.
Yeah. Either way, if I do it now, invest now, in 30 years, I will make a $15,000 profit. So that roof really only cost me, or will net me $15,000 in 30 years from now. So what an investment to make.
Yeah. So I like how this warranty. So the tile warranty is infinity or the lifetime of your house, whichever comes first. That's honest to God what the website says. I love it. But the power warranty is 30 years. Yeah. So I like that. Yeah, and my house is, what year is it? 13 years old. And so I'm not going to need a new roof for a while. But I've got a big south-facing part of my roof. I would absolutely consider this, when I need to put a roof on here in a bit.
I mean, I've wanted to do solar forever. The downside, so I also, 50% of my house sits perfectly north and south.
Yep.
And so 50% of my roof faces south, which would be perfect, but it is the side that is a street facing. So I can't just put those big giant panels up there. There's no hiding or camouflaging them. Everyone would see them. So
yeah, and for those of you that remember the story about how I tried to kill myself at Shane's house, I was facing north when I did that.
You were.
But no, good stuff. The Tesla stuff. So I haven't told you this. I was Jill and I were talking about some stuff the other night, and I got out and went to the Tesla site and spec'd out another Tesla that I'll never buy. That was Friday night. I don't know, 10:30. Bright and early Saturday morning, the Tesla showroom out of Minneapolis is like, "Hey, Todd, how's it going? I just thought we'd call. You gonna be around?" And I'm like, "Let me guess, you got a ping from the website that I looked things up last night, huh?" And the guy's like, man.
Technology, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually our one of our cars is about to come up on lease, and so we would I'm not going to buy a Tesla, but I'll probably do the same thing as you, is go and do the exercise. I'm like, oh.
Yep. Yeah, and a buddy of mine is on the web team at Tesla. So this morning I broke his I gave him some hell about his website spying on me.
All right. I think that wraps us up, right? Since goodness gracious, it's 5:45. Oh,
get out of here. All right. So for self-promotion, a week from today, we will be 1/5. Don't tell me, 20% through our online admin training. So there's still time to sign up. You've got four business days to do that. You can go to boldzebras.com and sign up for that. And you get a week of Shane and I teaching you all you need to know about SharePoint 2013, 2016, stuff like that.
Yeah, remember, if you sign yourself up or someone else, we'll give you $50 straight out of Todd's cut, so you can get a little bonus for all your work.
Now, I thought we went over that paperwork after last week's mistake where you said that. I thought it was not coming out of my cut anymore.
Yeah, but the paperwork renews every week, so I called it first this week, so you need to be on the ball next week.
I need to get into that OneDrive share and change that out. So we're doing that. And then tomorrow, which again is 6 days before this thing gets done, is the SharePoint Virtual Summit, where they're talking about, we're 1 year into SharePoint 2016. They've got some great things to announce out there. So you can sign up online for that. Probably right now. You probably can't because the website's down. But at blogs.office.com, you can sign up for that. Free thing and all that. And then next month, holy cow, in a month, I'm going to be in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, Haarlem actually, for the Office 365 Engage event. So you can go to office365engage.com, sign up for that. I'll be talking about PowerShell and Azure Active Directory, all that kind of stuff. If you sign up for office365engage.com, if you put my name in as a whatever promotional thingamadoozer, you get some money back. And I don't know, put that in there. It makes me feel like a big deal. And if you're going to be there, for goodness sakes, come find me. I'd love to shake your hand and meet you, chat with you a little bit. Next, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've been lobbying really hard to the Trump administration that June 23rd, they lock down the borders. They don't let anyone back, whether they're American or not. So, guys, cross your fingers. We might get that, Todd.
In all seriousness, that laptop ban, they've been talking about instituting that for flights from Europe. And so that will mean that I will not be able to bring my laptop on board with me when I come home. And I'm just not sure how to handle that. You
have the shakes the whole time.
Well, I mean, so part of it will be what I do to stay busy, but part of it will be that's my laptop and it's got my stuff on it and it's going to get, thrown around by the ramp apes and who knows what kind of damage is going to be done to it. And yeah.
I got nothing to offer you other than I'll cross my fingers for you that end up happening because, yeah.
Yeah. And then in July, I am virtually speaking at the SharePoint, the St. Louis SharePoint user group. And Daniel Glenn put a link in the chat room. I'll put something about that. And I think you can sign up for that virtually. Shane did it a couple of months ago. Could people sign up for that virtually, Shane?
No.
Oh, never mind then.
Nope, it was just me on the virtual and everyone else in that room being like, "It's Shane on the TV. It's Shane on the TV."
Yeah. So then, and then finally, what's that last one? Oh, so I'm going to be in Stockholm for the SharePoint Exchange Forum, September 6th to the 9th. Going to be on the cruise. Going to be great. So sign up for that. So lots of stuff going on. Busy year.
You are a busy boy.
Yep. So sign up for all those things. Thanks for listening. Chat room will stick around for a little bit, answer some of your questions. But as always, you can find us toddclint.com/netcast. He's at boldzebras.com.
Toodaloos.
See you guys next week. Bye.